The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Happy Jack Smith Day, by the way. That's what we're going to call today, Jack Smith Day. Welcome to the show, everybody. PTL family. Good to see all you guys here. We have a very special show lined up for you today. Some very special guests that are going to be joining us in studio. And obviously the Jack Smith testimony. Riveting stuff, at least by my estimation, that we will be reviewing. And the Jack Smith testimony on Capitol Hill is still going on today. Former Capitol Police officer Michael Fanone getting into it with someone in the audience. A lot of drama and the usual suspects on the far right that are trying to rewrite history. I mean, that's really the best way that I could describe on what took place that day. And Jack Smith is certainly, in my opinion, a true patriot and a hero for what he has done. And I will give you my reasons why I certainly feel that way. Also, some other news to you is that there have been a few arrests made in the church protest that took place in Minneapolis. Don Lemon, not one of those. The alleged so-called ringleader was, and others, a few others arrested as well. So we're going to continue to monitor that. Now, I wanted to talk about that story. I want to talk about, obviously, more details surrounding the ICE shooting, Jonathan Ross, the shooting of Renee Good. So we're getting into that as well. And the guy that we have on the show with us right now, we had a really good debate/conversation last time he came on. His name is Warren Smith. And Warren Smith is a former high school teacher and filmmaker who became known for his viral videos on critical thinking, certainly his teaching style. And obviously, the Secret Scholar Society on his YouTube channel is extremely successful. So really happy to have him come back on and bring him back, Warren Smith. Warren, thank you so much for coming back on. I really appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you as well, Warren. I thought we had a really good conversation last time. And, you know, there's a lot of really important topics that I want to bring up with you. Some we might agree on, some we might disagree on. Before we get to the ICE shooting of Renee Good, if it's okay, I do want to bring up this church protest, if that's okay with you, because you had done some videos about this. And obviously, I don't disagree that if you protest in a religious sanctuary or any private setting, you know, you could be cited for trespassing and it could be considered breaking the FACE Act as well. But what do you think Don Lemon did wrong there? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you'd probably be charged with the same trespassing. I don't know what the criminal charges beyond that would be. But I just think it's a foolish thing to invade a church like that and shut down a worship service for several reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that, as far as the protesters go, I don't think you should be protesting in religious sanctuaries. I certainly agree with that. That's against the law, and a lot of people are bringing up the FACE Act. I guess I just see a lot of people on the right that seem to, I don't know, and I'm not saying you're doing this, seem joyous in that they want Don Lemon to like go to jail and throw away the key. And again, I'm not saying you're doing that, but by my estimation, and you could tell me if you agree or disagree with me, do you see it that way? Because I see Don Lemon, a guy who just took out his cell phone. He took out his cell phone and he started recording.
I think it's more than that. I think he flew in with a prior coordinated plan with an activist group and wanted to go document it. I don't think like he just witnessed something and pulled out his cell phone on the fly. I think he was seeking out a story, knew exactly what they were doing, intentionally made sure that they didn't divulge any of their plans so no one could see them coming. So I think it's a bit more than that. I don't think he should be thrown into prison. I think there's a lot of people, there's a lot of blind team mentality right now that is concerning to me, which is one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, because I feel like we have good conversations where we've had a good one in the past to try and come to some kind of middle ground. And I was thinking we could conduct a thought experiment perhaps a little later on where we try and treat it as though you are president, I'm vice president, and we have to come up with a solution. What would this middle ground look like? It's easy to get carried away. Yeah, throw away the key, but
Mhm.
I think that's a foolish game to play.
Yeah, and Warren, I agree with you 100%. And by the way, I'm happy to do that with you. I think you're a smart guy, and I appreciate that. This is my issue with some people out there that are attacking Don Lemon. I think at worst case, you can maybe get him for trespassing. This is a guy who's never been convicted of a crime, no criminal record at all. And I see so many attacks on Don Lemon. And by the way, you're right. I spoke with Don Lemon the day it happened and the day after. I had private conversations with him. He wouldn't mind me saying this. He was told by a couple of the protesters that they were going to be in a church. He decided to go in there. I don't think I would use the terminology as Don Lemon storming the church, but he walked into the church knowing that it was going to happen, and he recorded it. Now, if they want to get him for trespassing, okay, fine. The issue that I have with some of these people that are going after Don Lemon, and even some people that are calling these protesters scum of the earth, again, I'm not saying you said that, is that they don't want an investigation into Jonathan Ross. They don't want an independent investigation when a woman is shot in the face and killed, whether people think it's murder or not, and I'm sure we'll get into that conversation. I just want an independent investigation because I want to know what happened. And those same people who seem to think that Jonathan Ross is innocent and were totally okay with Kristi Noem calling Renee Good a domestic terrorist an hour after the shooting are the same people that want Don Lemon in jail. And I think those people have zero credibility.
I think that's another example of this foolish game to play, throwing out this language so loosely. I do think that was a mistake that Trump made in the aftermath of that shooting.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. So I think we agree for the most part on the church, right? We both agree that, no, you shouldn't be protesting in a religious sanctuary. Now, I don't think it's World War.
What did you say to Don about that? Did you tell him that?
Yeah, I talked to him and I said, first of all, I said, be careful because there's a lot of people out there that want to get you. There's a lot of people out there that want to throw you in jail. Please be careful.
So you knew ahead of time?
What do you mean? No, I did not know ahead of time. After I saw the videos that Don Lemon put out and after it was all over the news that day that he put it out is when I had a private conversation with him. And I asked him, number one, because he's my friend, I said, are you okay? And he said, yeah, I'm doing fine. And then he described to me really pretty much what he pretty much said in a couple other interviews, which was, I got into Minneapolis that morning. I was told by a few people on the ground that they were going to be protesting in this church. I walked in there and I started recording. And that's what he did. And I think he's been pretty, and I believe him. And that I think he's been pretty consistent on that. I don't think Don Lemon is a bad guy. I really don't. I know that you might disagree with his politics. Some people might disagree with his politics. But this is a man who got a plethora of death threats when he was at CNN. I know there's a lot of people out there that maybe don't like Don Lemon because of his political affiliation. But I would say this. The Nick Sorters of the world and the Cam Higbees, Nick Sorter standing outside of Tim Walz's home, calling him the R word when we know that his son is a special needs student. I think that's far worse than anything that Don Lemon did. People that are out there that are agitators, and I would, Nick Shirley, I don't think anything he does is credible. When the guy made satire videos, in Ukraine, diminishing the war, I think Nick satire, I think those people are far worse than anything Don Lemon has done. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I don't know Don, so I wouldn't say he's evil or bad, but I just think he's foolish in some of the ways he goes about these conversations, whether it's sitting down with Elon Musk. I think that was foolish, and I deeply disagree with the things he says in these interviews. I just kind of be like, what are you doing? Like, what are you?
Can I ask you about that, Warren, if that's okay? Like the Elon Musk
sure.
interview?
I can try and go back to it. It's been a while. Just remind me. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Because I want to talk to you about that interview. It seemed to me, and again, I don't remember everything that was said there either, right, Warren? It was a while ago. But it seemed to me that Elon Musk doesn't like to be challenged in interviews. He doesn't like to be challenged by the media. I don't remember everything Don Lemon said there, but I think you would agree with me. There's a lot of sick people on social media, and there's a lot of sick things that people say, and it's allowed. And I think it's very dangerous. Now, I also understand that he owns X. I also understand that it's a private entity. I get that. But I think what Don Lemon was trying to perceive or convey is that, yeah, there's a lot of bigotry on X. There's a lot of racism, and a lot of that stuff doesn't get taken down. And when you look at the community notes, who cares about a community note? You've got people on social media, particularly on the right, that get community noted pretty much every day. They have hundreds of community notes every year, and they don't get suspended or anything. And I think I felt like that was what Don Lemon was trying to convey, and he gave examples. And Elon Musk got very upset at him. How dare you? You know, and
there's two parts. I'm remembering now. You're reminding me. There was that, and then there was the conversation around equity, which I think we got into slightly previously. And he was asking for evidence, and I did a video about that. And my point was that the logic is the evidence, and we can walk through how that is. I think we did that where we talked about there's only two ways we can achieve a specific outcome, and one of them is to alter the standards. And so, or they will both affect the standards. And so the logic is the evidence in that case. And going to the X conversation of taking people down, what Elon is trying to create as a model is, well, we already have our parameters around freedom of speech with the law. Anything short of the law, we're going to tolerate. If you don't like that, not taking into account community nodes, whatever that policy is, that's going to be separate to taking things down short of the law. Now, if you don't like that, you're free to go make your own platform. And if that resonates with the audience more and performs better as a result of your policy, then so be it. But this is how we're going to choose to do it on this platform. And you're not forced to use the platform.
I think that what Don Lemon was trying to convey was not, you're not allowed to do this. I think Don Lemon certainly understands that, and I don't speak for him, but you're certainly allowed to put this stuff out on social media. I think he was conveying, why do you allow it? Isn't this wrong? Isn't this bad for society? Isn't bigotry and racism and you know,
for the reason I just said, because who's going to be the person who gets to determine, well, this is bad, this is going to be harmful for society?
Well, Elon Musk, he owns the platform.
And Elon would say, but that's what laws do, not an individual person or a group of human beings. We've seen that go awry in the past, and he's trying to create an alternative to that model. And it's always going to go sideways in certain areas. You're going to have a lot of things you really don't like. What's the alternative? Is to have someone policing it.
Yeah, and I just take Don Lemon's side on that. I think it's one thing to call somebody a buffoon or an idiot, but I think it's another thing when you allow people like Myron Gaines and Kanye and these other people who are Holocaust deniers, who spread bigotry and hatred. It's horrible for society. And it's not illegal, right? The government can't get involved and arrest you for saying the Holocaust never happened. But when you have people with big platforms, and I know Don would agree with me on this, when you have people with enormous platforms that say stuff like that, it creates more anti-Semitism. It creates more hatred around certain groups of people. And I think it, as a whole, very bad for society. And Elon Musk does own the platform. I'm not saying he's breaking the law, but I think the question, again, that I would ask Elon Musk is, should you be allowed to say the N-word on your platform? Should he be allowed to use racial slurs? And if his response is, well, if it's not against the law, I'm going to allow it, I just think that's wrong. Now, it doesn't mean I'm forced to use the platform. I get it. It's a private business. But that's my opinion. I think it's repulsive. And I do think that's what Don was trying to convey. Not that you can't do this, it's illegal, but that you shouldn't do this because it's morally repugnant and it's bad for society, which I completely agree with.
Right. The idea is that the best way to stop any of these crazy ideas is to contend with them, not by suppressing them. We've seen that backfire time and time again. That's how we've gotten figures like Myron Gaines, and it's only going to propel them when we try and suppress it outright without, I mean, if it's so stupid, you should be able to contend with it. Bad ideas are not that difficult to swat aside.
I hear you. There's a lot of stupid people in society that believe what people say, like Donald Trump when he said the 2020 election was stolen. I mean, we don't have to get into that, but I mean, Jack Smith's testimony provides a pretty clear pathway to Donald Trump being partially responsible to what happened that day. But 6 out of 10 Republicans in a lot of polls still think that Trump won the 2020 election. So there's a lot of people out there that could be brainwashed. And I didn't think Don Lemon did anything wrong in that interview. And I think Elon Musk might be the richest man in the world, but I think he becomes very weak when he is challenged by people.
What do you mean by wrong? Can we just look at that for a minute when you say he didn't do it? I mean, I'm just saying what he's saying is illogical. I'm not making moral claims about it.
No, I think no. I'm not saying anything you said is wrong. I'm saying,
Not me. I'm talking Don Lemon and Elon Musk.
yeah. I believe that when Elon Musk, it doesn't happen very often, but when he's challenged in an interview, he either doesn't want to answer the question or he gets very defensive and combative, and the interview is usually over because I think he's a.
I think
Well,
he
I mean,
enjoys it. I think that's what he was offering at the time. He had, and I think this is another reason it was foolish of Don Lemon. He had an offer on the table to make content for X, and he blew that because he went about that interview in such a, I would argue, an illogical way that Elon got to the point where he's just like, choose your next words carefully, man. Like, my time is precious. I'm starting to forget why I'm even taking the time to talk to you. And that's
yeah. I mean, I guess that's where we disagree. I see it as courageous to be able to stand up to somebody like that who could be paying you a lot of money. And by the way, Don Lemon already has a lot of money, and there's my understanding there's ongoing litigation in regards to why that, because they already had a signed contract. There's ongoing litigation, and my understanding is Don Lemon has filed a suit against Elon Musk. And I guess from the perspective of, well, you have a great opportunity and a job on X to make a lot of money. So you better not challenge Elon Musk with the platform and what he does or doesn't.
So what is his claim for this lawsuit? That Elon Musk offered him money and then decided, I don't want to give you money after talking to you?
I don't know the details of it. All I know is that I believe that there is a suit that is still ongoing, and I don't know all the details of it. So you'd have to ask him that. I haven't gone into detail with him on what the merits are of the lawsuit. But let's okay, so we'll agree to disagree on that. I don't think Don Lemon did much wrong other than maybe trespassing, and you have so many of these people on social media. Yeah, I don't think he did anything.
You don't think it was wrong to walk into that church service?
Well, what do you mean by wrong? Are we talking about the law?
To interfere with people's freedom of religion.
Yeah, I don't think Don Lemon was doing that. I think the protesters were. I don't think Don Lemon was doing that, as I said.
And you don't think he was participating?
No, he wasn't protesting. He took out his phone. He was recording what took place, as any good journalist would do. He asked the pastor a few questions, and if he didn't leave when he was asked to leave, which I'm not sure if that's true or not, then you
didn't. You see it on camera. He said, "I would like you to leave now." And he said, "Well, I have every right to be here."
Yeah, he said, "I'm a Christian," and listen, you can. That's why I said maybe you can make the argument it could be trespassing, right? That'll be a slap on the wrist. He won't spend any time in jail. He'll be cited for trespassing. He's never allowed to go into the church ever again, which he won't anyway. I don't think it's as big of a deal as people make, but the point that I make about this is, yes, there are churchgoers that were interrupted. Okay, sorry that happened. They'll be able to bring their kids back to church next week. But Renee Good now has, there are kids that are going to be brought up without a mother. And I think that's far more serious than a church service being interrupted. Now, I'm not condoning protesters going in there and disrupting service. I think you should be protesting at other venues, not private property. And I do think that was wrong. But I see all the vitriol and I see all the anger from people on the right with these protesters who, by the way, didn't physically assault anybody. They didn't make any physical contact with anybody. They did interrupt a church service. And then I go to what's going on in Minneapolis when it comes to these ICE officers. And I don't condone any violence, by the way, towards ICE officers in any way, shape, or form. I call that out every day. But Warren, when you see these ICE, and this leads to the next topic, when you see some of these ICE officers breaking Fourth Amendment rights of individuals, going up to brown people and people of color and people with accents, demanding their paperwork, I would imagine you're not okay with that, because I'm certainly not.
Yeah, I am concerned. There are, I say this often, it's not just what you do, but how you do it. There are logical cases for the what they're doing, but not the how. There's certain areas where I think there is legitimate need for concern or legitimate concerns. And maybe there's more context in some of these examples, some of the stories we're hearing. Perhaps they're being exaggerated. I don't know. So we can only apply an if X, then Y kind of analysis. But I agree. If X is valid, what you're saying is valid, and what we're hearing is valid. I don't want to see people being asked for their ID because the rules, the proxy, and the way they articulate their justification is, well, when we are en route to a target or returning from a target, anyone we encounter in that process, the moment we walk out the door, anyone we see while we're coming into contact with them, and we can now ask, hey, can I see your status, your ID? and this is not about sides for me. This is about following the logic. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and you know what, Warren, I say the same thing about sides. For example, the next topic, when it comes to the shooting of Renee Good, I want a full investigation. And a lot of people go back to Ashley Babbitt, and I say, okay, there was an internal investigation. It didn't last a day. It didn't last an hour. It lasted months. They found that the officer was well within his rights to use deadly force. Okay. Many people on the right disagree. There was little to no investigating at all. And we just talked about this, right? Kristi Noem calling her a domestic terrorist. The thing that is confusing to me about this shooting, Warren, and it baffles my mind, is they broke so many different protocols. I say they because more than Jonathan Ross. He walks to the back to the front of the vehicle. He doesn't de-escalate or try to have a conversation with her. He has his cell phone in one hand. He gets in front of the vehicle, which we know in law enforcement you're trained not to do, makes little to no effort to get out of the way, possibly grazed by the vehicle. He stayed on his feet, so there wasn't much of an impact there if he was touched by the vehicle.
I think it's really important that in order to do this fairly, to try and find this middle ground, we need to be precise in our language and fair in our assessment. So when we claim there was not an effort to get out of the way, well, he jumped to get out of the way. I mean, if he hadn't gotten out of the way, could have gone sideways. There was clearly an effort to get out of the way, I think. Or if we were to say they didn't try and have a conversation, we don't know that. I mean, there was some dialogue that would have occurred. So, I mean, let's just
here's
be
why
careful
I say that.
in our...
Here's why I say that. Let me explain both situations. I'm talking about his cell phone footage where she says to him, "I'm not mad at you, dude." You remember that. He doesn't respond. He doesn't stop and try to have a conversation with her. What does he do? Instead of talking to her and saying, "Hi, I'm Officer Ross with ICE. Ma'am, here's what we're going to need you to do." Either he tells her, "We need you to get you out of the car. We need you to turn the car off." He could have said any of those things. He didn't even say anything to her. He walks to the back of the vehicle. I can only think to try to intimidate.
They say get out of the car. And also she was there for hours. So we don't know what was exchanged.
She wasn't in that car in that road for hours. And what we do know, to be precise, is that she dropped off her son at school. And it wasn't hours before she got there. So that's why there needs to be a full investigation. And I have no problem with that. But when you're saying he tried to, first of all, the other officer gets up to her vehicle, grabs the door and says, "Get the F out." That is against all de-escalation techniques. I would imagine it probably startled her and got her upset. Of course, I wish she got out of the car. She'd probably still be alive today. But that's not a proper training technique. And the
How
other
do you know that? How much do you know about training? And what do you mean that we see police tell people to get out of the car all the time?
Well,
what is a de-escalation technique?
Well, I mean, I have a guy who comes in every Wednesday who's a 30-year police officer, and I've spoken to others in law enforcement saying that was not a de-escalation technique. A de-escalation technique would have been to go up to her vehicle calmly before she went into reverse. Don't try to open the vehicle without talking to her first. And don't say, "Get the F out." A proper technique, and I've studied this and I've talked to those in law enforcement, be calm and say, "Ma'am, this is who I am. This is why we're here. This is what we're going to need you to do. Otherwise, we're going to have to arrest you." Or, "Ma'am, we're going to need you to get out of the car. Here's why. If you don't cooperate, we're going to get you out of the car." There are ways of de-escalation techniques, and I believe if they had used those techniques, I don't believe Renee Good would have tried to drive off. Now, I haven't even gotten to after the shooting, the mistakes that were made, proper protocol. After the shooting, and by the way, he shot a couple shots on the side of the vehicle after the first shot when she wasn't a threat. That's number one. Number two, after the shooting, effing B word, okay? But that's not against the law, but okay, let's just give him a pass on that one for argument's sake. You're supposed to be providing life-saving care, and you're supposed to be checking her pulse and doing everything you can to try to save her life. We've learned that she did have somewhat of a weak pulse up to 8 minutes after the shooting. Not only does he not check her pulse, and I'm talking about Officer Ross, he walks over very casually to his unmarked vehicle and says, "Guys, call 911. Lifts up his mask so nobody identifies him and leaves the scene of an officer-involved shooting where it's against every protocol. If you're involved with an officer-involved shooting, or you're the person in this case that pulls the trigger, you're not supposed to leave the scene. You're supposed to give up your weapon. You don't have to answer any questions, but you're not supposed to leave the scene." He does all those things, Warren, and they're all against
leaving the scene. I think there was probably concern around a growing mob at that time, so I could understand that one. I agree, aid should always be rendered. I think all of these scenarios, it would be great to see the police working in conjunction with them so that the police could also offer aid. And But we're not seeing that. We're seeing this divide instead.
Well, we are definitely seeing a lot of divide. And all I have called for, Warren, is an independent investigation. And we know that that's not going to happen.
Independent
yeah.
from the federal government?
You have Kristi Noem's people and Tim Walz's people that meet together and say, let's find an independent group that we can both agree upon that is reputable, that can investigate this thing. Let's give them everything they need. And then let the chips fall where they may. And then if that happens and they say that the officer was well within his right, then I'll respect that. I might not agree with it, but I'll respect it. At least they did that. That's not going to happen. You had a 2-day investigation, so they claim, from a woman who's in charge, who said an hour after the shooting, and I know you don't agree with this, that this woman, Renee Good, is a domestic terrorist. There's no credibility there. That's my issue, Warren.
I know. I agree. I want to see the most competent group possible conduct the investigation. That's essentially what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
correct.
Hey, any investigation, I would like it to be conducted in the most competent way.
Can I ask you, Warren, why do you think they're not doing that? Why do you think
in the wake, we saw this knee-jerk response, this team mentality. You're saying the right declared a conclusion too rapidly, too quickly. The left also did that. Waltz, the police chief, the mayor, those statements were equally irresponsible, calling it murder. But does that bother you as much?
Well, to my understanding is that Frey did not call it murder. I don't believe that Tim Waltz called it murder either, but here's the difference. And by the way,
I don't. She was murdered, didn't he?
I don't think Tim Waltz called it murder. But even if he did, let's just say he did. I personally believe that if Kristi Noem had come out and said we need a full investigation and to find out what happened here, let's get all the facts first before we draw conclusions. This is a very sad situation. Then I'm not sure Frey or Tim Waltz would have used that sort of language. But when you have Kristi Noem, who, by the way, is the one that would have been in charge of a full investigation here, which they didn't do. And when you call someone whose body isn't even cold yet a domestic terrorist without even knowing her name, that brings a reaction. In a perfect world, to answer your question, in a perfect world, I wish Kristi Noem didn't call her a domestic terrorist. I wish nobody called the ICE officer a murderer. In a perfect world. But we don't have responsible. The difference is Tim Waltz and Frey are not conducting this investigation. Okay. But Kristi Noem would have. And we have weak leadership in DC. This is weak leadership at a minimum. And unfortunately now they're investigating Renee Good's wife instead of conducting a full-on investigation. And then we hear that the officer had internal bleeding. By the way, internal bleeding could be banging my arm against this wall here and we don't even know what that means. And we have 2 unnamed sources that CBS reported. What hospital did he go to? You see where I'm getting at here, Warren? It's sad. It's very sad.
It is sad. How about we get to what is most important? Let's run our thought experiment where you are president, I'm vice president, and we have to come up with a solution.
Yep. So if I'm the president right now to cool down the tension, can we start there? How do we cool down the tension in Minneapolis? Here's what I would do. Let's get in a room with Tim Waltz and Mayor Frey. We want to go into your jails. Tom Homan as well. We want to go into your jails, right? At least that's what the Trump administration is saying. We want access to your jails to deport illegal criminals. Give us access to do that. And then in return, we will back off on the streets. We'll get rid of these 2,000 ICE officers. We'll work with you guys. We're not going to be barging down doors without warrants. We won't be doing any of that. We're not going to be IDing people with no reasonable or articulable suspicion they committed a crime. Give us access to your jails, which is what they've asked for. And in return, we will lower the temperature and we will withdraw our troops, for lack of a better term. I think that would be right now a good start to lower the temperature while deporting bad people.
I agree with that. So do you think they would take that offer? Do you think they would allow access to the jails?
If they agreed upon, if the Trump administration agreed upon getting these ICE agents all over the country, really, but we're talking about Minneapolis right now, get these 2,000 ICE agents off the streets and only go after violent criminals right now. And you have to have a warrant to go into your home, which, by the way, some of these acts, they're not doing that. Yes, I do. I really
Okay.
do. I think that's a compromise. I
So
think
ICE
that would
wouldn't be gone entirely. We would still have to have agents
right.
going after targets. Okay.
Yeah, and I understand that. I'm not saying every ICE agent off the streets, but as you know, they added 2,000 ICE agents, which is absurd. Get them out of there, okay? And if you have an ICE agent out there on the streets, make sure you have a warrant, which
That's
many
largely in response to the protests. What are we going to do about that?
I personally believe that if you had most of these ICE agents off the streets and you had a compromise, that wouldn't happen. However, as you know, you do have the right to peacefully protest. But in return, I would say if anyone is throwing objects at ICE officers or breaking the law, they have to be held to the highest extent of the law as well. But the conversation needs to start there. And that's the problem. There's no conversation. The Trump administration has already opened up investigations into Tim Walz and Frey. That's going to make the situation even worse. They've called out 2,000 more ICE agents. There's a possibility that the Insurrection Act might be invoked. That takes away everybody's rights in that area for the most part. This is the problem is the Trump administration is escalating things. They're not making it any better. I know you could make the case that, well, I don't like Tim Walz's language and Frey saying, get the F out of our city. Okay, fine. You need to have conversations like this. Let's start somewhere and then let's try to reason. And I don't believe the Trump administration is willing to or capable of doing that. That's my opinion.
Is Walz willing to, do you think?
I believe that if Donald Trump, and this is my personal opinion, obviously we don't know for sure, Warren, but if you ask me, I believe if Kristi Noem or Donald Trump picked up the phone right now and they called Governor Walz, because this is what leadership is all about. You might disagree or not like somebody, but you do this for the American people. I believe if they picked up the phone and went, look, Governor, this has gone too far. You've made mistakes. We've made mistakes. Come to D.C. or we'll come to you. Let's have a closed-door conversation. We'll bring Tom Homan. We'll bring the leader of ICE in. We'll bring Kristi Noem. Please bring the mayor. Let's talk this out. Yes, beyond the shadow of a doubt, I believe Tim Walz would do that for the sake of his people. Because say what you want about Tim Walz, he's not a perfect governor. I did not want him to be chosen by Kamala Harris to be her vice president. But I do believe he's a decent man. And I do believe they would do that. But Warren, Donald Trump is not willing to do that. He sees all these people as his enemies, and he cares more about that than doing what's right and safe for the American people. That's my opinion.
I understand. I think it is concerning when Walz talks about in the way he did about deploying the National Guard. I understand there's legitimate, it sounds like possibly legitimate concerns coming from police officers, but this sense of pitting police against the federal level, that is what I think is leading primarily to the potential for this Insurrection Act.
What does he do?
What does Walz do?
I mean, what can he do in this situation? I don't know what else they can do here.
Don't have these knee-jerk responses right after something like this happens. Take the approach like what you said, and we just want an honest investigation, objectivity, but I'm not going to be telling you automatically get the F out, talking about deploying National Guard, having the mayor stand next to the chief of police in that way, saying, no, we're drawing lines here, and almost saying you have a civic patriotic duty to take to the streets. I just think we're playing with fire here, man.
I think we're playing with fire, and I don't think it's because Mayor Frey said get the F out. I think we're playing with fire because you have a bunch of ICE agents that are not properly trained. You have ICE agents, as you know, that only need 47 days of training with a $50,000 bonus. Barack Obama never
That's going to be a factor, but we have to, in order to find that middle ground solution, we have to be objective and fair about where the mistakes are being made on both sides. It's easy to play this Trump game. This is Trump's fault. But if you're president and I'm vice president, we're trying to actually come to a conclusion here or a solution. We're making progress. We are. I like what we laid out. I have my doubts as to whether or not Walz would actually do that. I think the attention that's been drawn to Minnesota has caused him to act in an impulsive way. I could be wrong. I had a sense in those early days. I made a video about it. It was almost as if he wanted this.
Oh, I don't think that.
I
I
don't
don't
know what
think
to
Waltz
say.
wants that. I don't think Waltz wants this at all. And if you're going to talk about
To
impulsive,
resist Trump, I mean, to say
oh,
"F
I mean,
you."
well, I mean, listen. The fact of the matter is that I think if you're going to talk about somebody who's impulsive, I think we have to look at the president of the United States. I mean,
Yeah,
when
but
you talk about
everyone can be impulsive.
yeah, but at
Obviously,
the
he's got
levels.
impulsive flaws.
There's different levels, but if Donald Trump was never president, this wouldn't be happening in Minneapolis right now. As you know, the Biden administration already opened up a ton of investigations into fraud in Minneapolis, and dozens of people lost their business licenses. Over 90 people were convicted, and there are still people in jail right now. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying there's not more fraud
But you
out
know the
there.
counter that you're gonna get from people, they're going to say, "Yes, but if immigration had not been unchecked and the border not been unchecked, we wouldn't be in this predicament now." That's what
But I don't
that's the
think
response you're gonna get.
But I don't think Donald Trump cares about fraud. You have over 20 people that he has pardoned who have committed more than $2 billion of fraud with not having to pay back any restitution. So if the
We're
argument is,
getting into that mind reading game. I can't say what he cares about.
well, I can just go by his actions. Forget about mind reading.
Okay.
Warren, he pardoned more than 20 people that have committed more than $2 billion in fraud and don't have to pay back restitution. Just like kidnapping Maduro, who I don't defend, by the way, in Venezuela. We were told this is a bad guy and it's about drugs. And then 4 weeks earlier, he pardoned a guy who brought in 400 tons of illegal drugs into this country. So I'm going by his actions. If you donate money to Donald Trump, and if you're a big MAGA supporter, all of a sudden you're not treated fairly. But if you're Tim Waltz or Frey or any of these other people or Somalians in Minneapolis, oh, let's lock them up. I just think his actions speak differently than what so many people on the right claim, that they care about fraud, they care about this, they care about that. Well, look at Donald Trump's actions himself. He cares about money. He cares about stealing oil. He cares only if you've donated to his campaign or somebody close to you has donated to his campaign. Then all of a sudden, he wants you free. And I just think it's so hypocritical.
Okay, so let's take Trump out of it. You're president, I'm vice president. What do we do about the fraud?
Fraud where? Fraud in general, or?
Well, yeah, so the nation is concerned right now about what is going on in Minneapolis. It's obviously going to extend in different forms way outside of Minneapolis. But let's just take that as for this thought experiment.
Yeah.
Would we actually address that?
I certainly don't take anything into account from a 23-year-old right-wing grifter
So
who's not
dismiss it.
well, he didn't uncover anything. It hasn't been, nothing's been proven. He didn't uncover anything.
Okay.
He just walked up to a couple of bits. So I don't take any
Do
of
we
that.
investigate it?
Well, it was investigated. And
Okay,
there
so
were
what was the
people-
conclusion? Is there a conclusion?
So there were local, I'm trying to forget the word, not politicians, but there were local people within that area who went into all of those businesses, and it was investigated, where Nick Shirley went to, and they're on record as saying they didn't find anything unusual or fraud in those facilities. Here's what I would do. I would continue what Merrick Garland was doing. I would continue what the Biden administration was doing. If you want to look into fraud, and I'm sure there is fraud out there, I have no problem with investigating it. But what I'm not going to do is, as you use the term, knee-jerk reaction to a 23-year-old who made satire videos, who's a YouTuber who cares about
But
making
as your
money.
vice president, I'm going to call this a knee-jerk reaction. So I'm just trying to understand your claim. You're telling me that our investigation is done and there's nothing to see
No,
here.
I didn't say that. There's still no, I didn't say that. There's still ongoing investigations, by the way. I don't know if you knew that in Minneapolis. There's still investigations that were already ongoing. The point, what I'm trying to say, Warren, is this isn't anything new. Nick Shirley didn't discover something. And you have a lot of people on the right that are mimicking what he did. And you're just knocking on businesses that are owned by brown people. They didn't uncover anything new. This has been going on and dating back to 2022. If there's fraud, continue to investigate. I have no problem with that. If you get a really good tip that there's fraud, go ahead, investigate it. I have no problem with investigating it. What I do have a problem with are right-wing idiots like Nick Shirley. Yes, I do think he's an idiot, knocking on a bunch of doors. Some of these businesses are closed. He goes into the back of a restaurant that he thought was a child care center. No, you can't just go into a child daycare center and record a bunch of children in there just because they won't let you.
You just said investigate it. He didn't record any children. He was investigating it. But now you're saying, but you're 23 and right-wing. So
right.
I don't like your investigation.
Right. So he's not law enforcement. So he's not an investigator.
So now it's only law enforcement can investigate this, not independent journalists.
First of all, I don't think he's a journalist, Warren.
Okay. a guy with a camera. I agree with you. I think he's a guy with a camera recording what's important to him.
Yeah, I don't think it's important to him. I think the only thing that's important to him is making money on YouTube. I don't think
Let's
fraud.
try and avoid I'm going to deduce your intentions. This is important to you. You
Okay.
don't care about this.
Okay.
That's subjective.
So help me understand then. What did he uncover, Warren?
What he showed was what he thinks is a strange pattern that cannot be explained and is likely fraud. He believes it sounds like he believes that there is fraud occurring.
Okay, but just because he sees a pattern doesn't mean that there's fraud. I guess my thing is, where's the fire here? Because everyone on the right says, look at what Nick Shirley uncovered. And my response,
because they're seeing something that's very strange with their own eyes. There's no tracks in the snow, for example.
What was strange?
Showing up at a certain hour in the day it's a little strange. To see the state of the facilities is a little strange. It's like, wait, people.
Here's what I think is strange.
Okay,
Warren, sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Here's what I think is strange. When you show up to a facility at 11 a.m. with your cameras, you don't show the hours of operation, which are right in front of the facility on a door that says they don't open till 2 p.m. You don't put that in your video. You try to open the door where the sign's right there that says they don't open for 3 hours. You don't put that in your video. Then you're exposed about it. And you make the case, well, they're locked. I don't see any children in there. So that must be fraud. So that's not journalism.
If he saw the sign and he knew that those were the hours of operations, I agree you should include that in your analysis. But also, what about when he calls and says, hey, can I enroll my kid? And the response is, well, can I enroll my son, Joey? This is not a Joey place. Do you see why people would find that strange, even if you disagree with it?
So if you call a facility and you say, hey, I want to enroll my child, I can't speak to every single daycare center and the rules that they have. I also understand that with a lot of these facilities, that's not how it works. You don't just call a facility. And my understanding is they recommended he go to a certain website where you can fill out the paperwork online and then you show up for an appointment. I don't think the way it works is you just call up and say, hey, I got my son Joey here. I want to bring him in.
Can you call and ask for information? The problem is that this is on camera. You can hear the dialogue, him literally saying, this is not a Joey place. That's a strange statement.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Yeah, that is a strange statement, but I would say just because you have an alleged employee making a strange statement also doesn't mean
then you repeat that different location. And if that same pattern seems to be occurring over and over again, are you really going to blame people for saying, yeah, this is strange to me? I mean, there's a reason that's
not what we're saying.
Off with so many people. It doesn't mean it's even accurate, but
that's not what he said.
Blame people for seeing strange patterns. And what many people are going to hear when they listen to this is it sounds like you genuinely don't want this to be true. Not that you're being objective, but rather you're trying to defend something for a reason.
I don't defend any, well, there is a reason, but I don't defend any fraud. If there's fraud going on, then it should be investigated and people should be held to the highest extent of the law. I defend the Somalian people. I believe there's a contingent of people on the right that are racist, that want to attack these people because of the color of their skin, not because of they believe, oh, this is alleged fraud. These people aren't ruining our country. You see the Laura Loomers of the world and others on social media that go after these people. And, I hear deport all Muslims. I know you're not saying that, Warren, but there is a large contingent of people on the right that attack people based on their skin color. And yes, I do believe
people all over the place, man.
There are.
Do you agree with Nick Shirley's claim about 98% of the fraud in Minnesota is being claimed by this demographic?
No, I don't.
You think that's a false?
Yeah, well, he gets that information from his friend Dave, who we now, and there's a reason why he didn't give out his last name. Now, obviously, when Nick Shirley put this out, he had no idea that it would be pushed by Elon Musk and JD Vance and others. But no, I don't, because when you get information from a Republican political operative and his right-hand man in that video, Dave, it is already.
He got all this just from Dave.
I think he got a lot of it
in front of Congress yesterday.
Yeah, I know he did. He
just sat down with Channel 5 News and showed the guy the statistics and corroborated this on camera. But
no, I know he did that. But Ben Shapiro's also testified in front of Congress. So I just because you testify in front of Congress doesn't mean that you have, in my opinion, more credibility. But I would say this.
But it goes beyond Dave.
Well, I understand that, but you're asking me where did he get some of these numbers from? Just because you have a number and you show a number,
same place you can get it from.
Well, I understand that, but the idea that 98% of fraud is
It's
happening
crazy.
in
Or
Minneapolis.
what was it, 89 or 90? I forget the number, but
Well, I don't know.
it doesn't really matter.
I wouldn't. No, you're asking me. I wouldn't believe that statistic at all. Proven in a court of law. I don't care what Nick Shirley says because I think he's a buffoon. I ran into him a couple weeks ago at
So
AmFest.
you're just gonna dismiss his investigations or claims entirely because he's a buffoon.
I'm going to
You think that's wise?
I'm going to dismiss. I'm going to tell you why I'm going to dismiss everything he does. I'm going by the video for one. I'm going by my interactions with him. Number two, I don't think he's a very intelligent individual. I'm also going by. Yeah, I met him in Phoenix. I spoke with him a few weeks ago in Phoenix. We had a 15-minute debate that's on YouTube, and I think he's a complete imbecile. And I met his mother as well, who I think is also an imbecile. When you go, it's also an issue of credibility. Okay, when you go to Ukraine and you want to make YouTube videos, because that's really all he is, and you openly admit that you went there to make satire videos when thousands and thousands of innocent people are dying, I think it shows, number one, you have zero credibility. You can't spell journalism. And then he wears these sweatshirts, the Learning Center, trying to make money off of what he's doing. Because that's really what this is all about with Nick Shirley. It's about money and Elon Musk pushing a narrative. Because, yes, I also believe Elon Musk has racist tendencies. See, because when it comes to fraud from some of these billionaire friends of his that Donald Trump pardons, you won't hear Elon Musk talking about that. But if it's Somalians allegedly committing fraud, yes, I do think color of skin has a lot to do with it. Yes, I do think Nick Shirley is a complete buffoon. And if you have an actual, real investigation with real people that conduct the investigation, and if there's real fraud going on, and there's ongoing investigation.
Gotcha. What has Elon Musk done that makes you think he's racist?
What has Elon Musk done that would make me think he's a racist? Well, I just named you one, right? He's very aggressive when it comes to the Somalian fraud, but then when it comes to
I think he's concerned about fraud given his background with Doge
Sure. I think if you run a platform where it's okay to use the N-word to call somebody black, that word, and you give people a platform like Kanye West and others.
Okay, well, if I were going to run a platform, I would take the same policy because I think it's the least bad. It's the worst policy except for all the other policies. Does that make me racist?
Say that again. I'm sorry, Warren.
I would take the same policy if I were to invent my own platform because I think it's the worst policy except for all the other policies. You said that's one reason you think he's racist because of his policy. Would I be racist?
That's one of many, though. I'm giving you context. That's not the only reason why I do believe he has.
Okay, so what's another reason?
For the minorities. So Elon Musk, and this goes into hatred and bigotry, which is all tied in, of course, to racism. But as you know, Elon Musk was criticized for using a Hitler-esque salute.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So he claimed that's not what it was, and he didn't think that's okay. No problem. So a week after that, he speaks in front of a lot of people, a group of Germans who are from, some would say many of the people in this organization are neo-Nazis and Holocaust deniers. That same week that he was criticized for using a Hitler-esque move.
Yeah, I saw that speech. There was a crackdown of free speech and arrests were being made over free speech in Germany. And he spoke, I believe, on that topic.
Right. But the organization that he spoke to, many people within that organization, and this has been proven, are Holocaust deniers.
Just like users on X, but we just,
Right. But the point I'm trying to make is when the week of you're criticized for being an anti-Semite, you're criticized for giving a Hitler-esque salute.
I think his argument would be, well, damn the criticism. It doesn't have any validity. So let me just get this straight. So you think Elon Musk wishes Hitler had won World War II and he was giving a Nazi salute?
I'm not going that far, but I think
then why would he give a Nazi salute?
Listen, all I'm simply saying is if it wasn't a Nazi salute, and I don't know whether it was or it wasn't, if it wasn't, then maybe in that same week, you probably shouldn't speak in front of a bunch of neo-Nazis because that's what he was doing. So I think, he's also very transphobic. I mean, listen to some of the statements one of his daughters makes about him, but the statements that he makes on X continually about trans surgery and people
like
who are trans people. He thinks that trans surgery should be completely illegal. and that these people need to be helped mentally, and that it should be completely illegal.
Is he talking about minors there, or is he just saying completely?
He's talked across the board that he thinks trans surgery should be against the law, not just with children. By the way, he's not a doctor. He's not a therapist. I don't care how much money he has, but he makes these generalizations about people, right? That is, if you're trans, there must be something mentally wrong with you. And I completely disagree with that as well. I think that's wrong. And the bottom line here is that if, in fact, Elon Musk is not racist, he's not transphobic, which I believe he is, he's not anti-Semitic, which I believe he is, but if the argument is he's not, then he wouldn't be doing these things. I think he has a lot of hatred in his heart. I think he has some social issues that he's dealt with. I think he's a horrible father. That's also put on record.
Yeah, okay, let's stick with the non-subject. But what things? You haven't given me any.
I've given you behaviors. The things he said on the record. And boy, he
about trans surgeries. That's what makes him
transphobic.
If you have, I don't. So it would be great if we had an actual example of him.
Well, he has a daughter. He has a daughter that's transphobic. My understanding is his daughter
doesn't make him transphobic.
Well, according to his daughter, who is gone out, and I give her a lot more credibility than I would give anybody else.
You think his daughter is a stable person?
I have no reason to believe that his daughter isn't a stable person. Just because you have trans surgery,
she's angry at her.
I think she's
heard her talk a little bit, but she seems like someone who's very upset with her father for various reasons. She might have a reason to go on record and talk about the richest person in the world.
Well, I think that one reason why she might be a little upset is because he knocks on people like her every day, trans people. I think another reason why might be a little upset.
How though?
Well, by basically saying that his own daughter, in some kind of words, needs mental help. All people that are that have trans surgeries need mental help. They're all mentally ill people, which, by the way, there's no evidence to prove that. And then, that would be pretty offensive. Like if I was a trans person, somebody in my family made statements like that, I'd be very.
I think he'd probably respond to you saying, well, you can disagree with me, but if someone is having body parts chopped off or extreme medical surgery, I think before we go to the medical surgery, yes, we should try and have medical aid toward the mind to perhaps we can find a less intrusive. And I'm not a scientist. Perhaps there's scientific reasons to back that up, but I don't think that makes you a bigot.
Well, I mean, that's your opinion on that. I think there's a lot of people out there that would categorize trans people as mentally ill people. And I disagree with that assessment. I think there are a lot of people in this country that are mentally ill. I don't think you're mentally ill just because you have trans surgery. And I don't think there's any evidence to back that up. And I don't characterize it necessarily as body parts being chopped off. I think there's a process that people go through.
Invasive surgeries, we could say, significant surgeries. And also it depends who you talk to. Professor Dave was trying to present this argument to me that trans people are trans for biological reasons, then it's actually a physical aspect of their brains. According to him, they have different brains than other people. So then you could logically make a scientific case, according to the evidence he's presenting, that there is a medical condition. According to his logic, is he bigoted?
If you have one doctor that makes the case that if everybody that wants transgender surgery has a different brain, is that what you're?
And my response to him was that I said, no, I don't think it's everyone. I've had students that I think it was a more social mimetic feature where they seem to be going with a trend, and they changed. I had a girl switch to boy, and then the next year switch back to the boy. I don't think she had a medical condition in her brain, a different physical feature. But in some cases, according to him, his science might be correct. I don't know.
Well, I don't doubt that in some cases. Sure, when you say in some cases, that could make sense to me. But that's
okay.
Not
yeah, because of course there's going to be people that do it for a mimetic reason. We can acknowledge that. We could see that. So
yeah. I mean, I guess in closing, Warren, with this is I don't think Elon Musk is a good guy. I think he has a lot of bad characteristics and the groups of people that he goes after on a regular basis. I just don't think he's a good man. And I think anybody that, quote, plants his seed all over the country and then has a bunch of women that sign non-disclosure agreements and is not a father to his kids, I just don't think you're a good guy. And I would say that to his face. And I don't care what type of job he's offering me or not. I would say that to his face. I think he's a really bad guy. I feel the same way about Donald Trump. I think he's a really bad guy.
You're
I think
allowed to feel that. Yeah.
I mean, I think he's a terrible human being. And we have a few more minutes here, but
Good.
if I'm president and vice president, there's a lot of things that I would want to change. There's a lot of things that I would do. We talked about Minneapolis. I certainly wouldn't be threatening military force on Greenland. Okay. Now, one day he says he's not threatening force. The next day he is. Doesn't take it off the table. I wouldn't be going into other countries kidnapping presidents. I certainly wouldn't be threatening tariffs with all these other countries if they don't support us being the bully of the world. I certainly wouldn't do that. There's a lot of things I wouldn't do. I wouldn't have all these ICE agents all over the country. I wouldn't be giving the biggest tax breaks to the top 1% of Americans. As we know, Warren, $100 billion in tax cuts to the richest people. This economy is great for the richest people. I don't care about the richest people right now. I care about people that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. What did he do in the big and beautiful bill? Over 20 million people losing their Medicaid.
That's Nick Shirley's argument. And Nick Shirley would counter that and say, well, but you don't. Do you care about but you're dismissing the fraud claims coming from him?
Not dismissing. I'm dismissing the fraud. I'm not dismissing fraud in.
You're breaking up a little bit.
In general. Nick Shirley getting some sort of ridiculous award for that's not journalism to me. I put no credibility, Nick Shirley. Fraud in general, across the board. Investigate who you like. If people are no matter what the color of their skin is, if people are fraudulent and they're committing fraud, hold them to the highest extent of the law. But don't give a bunch of white people pardons that stole billions of dollars from people and just focus on Somalians in Minneapolis. Let's be consistent. That's all I want.
But you're not being consistent, though, to be fair, because you just said fraud is fraud, which Nick would agree with, and investigate people regardless of their skin color. But then you say, well, no, you have to be a law enforcement authority to conduct the investigation, not a YouTuber, and you can't knock on the door of Somalian people because they're racist, or that makes you racist. And then that led us into the whole conversation about Elon Musk being a racist.
Yeah, I didn't say you can't investigate people because they're brown. What I did say is I do believe a lot of people on the right that care so much about alleged Somalian fraud are doing it because they're brown. I absolutely believe that. Again, going back to 2022, Joe Biden opened up a ton of investigations under Merrick Garland in Minneapolis. They made a bunch of arrests. I have no problem with the administration doing that. I do have a problem with people giving Nick Shirley any credibility at all, which I don't believe he deserves any, for knocking on a few doors that wouldn't let him in. That doesn't mean that there's fraud. You can say that, well, there's a couple strange things in that video. Okay, I can also point to a couple of things in that video that show that he's full of crap and this isn't journalism. So let the chips fall where they may. If people want to investigate people, that's fine, but I want consistency, right? Example, and we'll go back to what we said earlier. We have a few more minutes here. You saw all the outrage on the right about this whole church thing that we discussed. People are up in arms. They call it terrorism. These are terrorists. Okay. What exactly did they do? Yes, they probably broke the law. Yes, they interrupted a church service. Not the end of the world. It is breaking the law, but those kids will be able to go back to church next week. And again,
it also has a psychological scarring effect on some of them. I mean, you saw the images, surely, of the kid cowering, multiple people cowering. I mean, I could understand how that could be a traumatic experience, right?
I saw a child that was crying in a still shot picture.
You have so much compassion for trans individuals and trans children, but
I have compassion now.
It's like, get tough, deal with it, kid.
No, I didn't say that. No, you're putting words in my mouth. I didn't.
Okay. All right.
I didn't say that. If a child was traumatized by some people yelling in church, because that's really what happened, I'm pretty confident that child will be okay and it won't scar him for the rest of his life. When he was in church with his family and some people were breaking the law, I would assume, and yelling out some chants, say her name, Renee Good, I would imagine some children were a little scared. And I am sorry that
they're going to be able to go back to church next Sunday just fine. You just
eventually I'm sure they will. I don't think they're going to be scarred for life.
Okay.
No, I didn't say no worries, but I care more about a child that is going to grow up without a mom. I care more about fathers and mothers that are physically assaulted, that are being dragged outside their vehicles. I feel more about kids.
Yeah, this is a dangerous game to play, man. Just to say, well, this bad thing is happening, therefore that justifies this bad thing because that bad thing is worse.
No, but it's the whole, we can say that things are bad, but there's no even keel here to a child that's sitting in a back seat where tear gas by ICE agents are put into a car, and that child almost dies.
Yeah, I agree with you. I
That's
agree
horrible.
with you, but I don't think we should justify either what happened in that
Here's
church
why
to
I'm
say
doing
it's
that.
not that big
I'm
of a
not
deal.
again. I'm not justifying it. But what I am saying is this: it's the hypocrisy of the right, the outrage on the right for what took place in this church, and these same people, many
I
of them.
can't talk for the right. I'm me. You're talking to me.
I'm just giving you my generalization
Okay.
of many people that are on the right, not you, Warren. Let me be clear on that. Many people on the right that are outraged and they want to see a gay black man go to jail, and Don Lemon, put him in jail and lock away the key. I know you don't, but there's a lot of people on the right that hold more anger and accountability to Don Lemon for taking out his cell phone and recording in a church than Jonathan Ross, who shot a woman in the face and killed her. I think that is wrong. And the outrage should be towards the way these ICE officers are dragging women out of their cars, many of it unjustified based on evidence and circumstance, pushing down doors, knocking down doors with no warrant to get somebody that's illegal. I have no problem with ICE agents finding bad people and putting them in custody and deporting them. I think most of America agrees with that. I do have a problem with breaking the law and not abiding by our Constitution. And yes, I think that is far
Which
more
is what
serious.
they did in the church. They broke the law and broke constitutional.
I understand they did.
The Constitution.
I understand they did, which is what I said to start this show, that if they're arrested, I have no problem with that. Understand they might have broken the FACE Act. I've been very consistent on that. The point I'm trying to make is many people on the right are more outraged by people that probably did break the law, that were chanting out, say her name, Renee Good, than they are about what is happening with ICE agents breaking the law and physically assaulting people and arresting American citizens and taking away their rights. I'm not condoning protesting on a private business, let alone a church. Not condoning or defending. All I'm saying is there are different levels, and the right-wing hypocrisy is insane, Warren. You have to agree with me there. It's insane, hypocrisy.
There's foolish people, and I think it's a foolish game to play. Honestly, I'm just genuinely shocked, and I would kill for the chance to ask Don about this directly. I think it's cool that you're able to have a conversation with him. I would ask him, like, I'm just shocked that he would think it would be a good idea to do that. Did you ask him about that? Like, how could you meet up with this group, know these plans, and think we're going to go shut down a church service and go along with it and be smiling through the whole thing, and then on the way out be like, well, that was interesting to watch. It'd just be totally fine.
I would not. I can tell you that if I was in a service and I saw something like that happen, I would take out my phone and probably record. I think the mistake maybe that he made in this situation.
Wait a minute. Can we just examine that? So you're saying, so you're comparing what Don Lemon did to a person attending the service, taking out their phone? Or what's your point?
No, I'm just saying that I was just going to get to that. I was saying if I was in a church and that happened, I would take out my phone and record. Don Lemon found out before it happened by a few people that they were going to be in there and they were going to be protesting. I think maybe the mistake that he made was not necessarily recording what was taking place, but maybe doing interviews in there. I think it was a little bit uncomfortable. Clearly, the pastor.
The mistake was going into the church service with a mob to shut down the service.
That was not Don Lemon's intention. He was there just to record. He might have thought that there was going to be a protest, which he did, but that was not Don Lemon.
He taught in the car on the way. He's talking about the importance of making people uncomfortable and disrupting them, taking it to them in undisclosed ways, surprising them, and imposing it upon them. You're really telling me that he didn't know that he knew this was going to happen. He spells that out. You spoke to him.
As I said, he knew that there was going to be a protest. Sure, but that's not against the law. Knowing that there's going to be a protest. They
were going to shut down the service. Are you saying he didn't know that they were going to stop a church service?
I don't know if he knew whether the service was going to be stopped or not. But the point because I think we're going in circles here. The point that I'm getting at here, Don Lemon will not be charged with breaking the FACE Act. If anything, Don Lemon maybe at a maximum will be charged possibly with trespassing. And I don't think that is an extremely serious charge. I don't think that means that Don Lemon is going to jail. He doesn't have a criminal record. And on the flip side of things, I feel like this is more concerning to you. Maybe tell me if I'm wrong. Than what happened to Renee Good or the circumstances of ICE and the way they're treating her.
Why would you say that?
Well, you did put out a video and you seemed pretty upset at Don Lemon, which is you have the right to do that, Warren. I wish I saw more videos of you critical of Kristi Noem and the Trump administration and her calling out the shooter the victim as a domestic terrorist and ICE agents breaking down doors.
Well, I'm doing that. I've already articulated that now on this live broadcast.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But you have a huge following, Warren, and I appreciate you doing this. I wish you would do more of those videos also. I do like your content. I enjoy it. I watch it. There's the reason why you have a very large following. My only point is, and by the way, every day since this happened, I've been very consistent, and I've said the protesters in there, not Don Lemon, but the protesters who were actually protesting broke the law probably, and it's not smart to do what they did, and they're probably going to pay the price for it. But I would love to see somebody like you, Warren, who I think is very articulate, to also call out Kristi Noem and to call out the hypocrisy from the right. If we're going to call out the protesters, which I think we have, let's call out the Trump administration and Kristi Noem not investigating this officer. Let's call out ICE agents breaking Fourth Amendment constitutional rights. Every single day I see the videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
Let's call them out.
Respond to that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging because my video format, usually I'm responding, I'm analyzing. Usually it's a debate or Don Lemon going on this little adventure. I'm analyzing a specific segment. Yes, Kristi Noem's position on this doesn't make for, it's not necessarily a video. I can talk about it in dialogues like this, and I could say, I think that sentence was a mistake or that statement was a mistake. So I understand your point. I did put out a video trying to indicate the dynamics that I'm seeing of the split and where that could take us. The same thing we've been talking about here.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that. I can appreciate that. You get my point, right? And you know, what I want from people that are intelligent like yourself and others, let's all have these conversations and let's try to be consistent. Listen, I am sorry if there are kids out there that were frightened in the church, which clearly there were some families and some kids that were frightened. Heck, if I was in a religious, whether I'm in synagogue or church, and I saw a bunch of people I didn't know that started screaming and yelling, I'd be like, what the hell is going on here? What is this? You know? And it is disruptive. I get that.
And it's going to snowball and cause that division to increase. Things like that are only going to make it worse, whether it's on the right or on the left. I'm calling out knocking on people's doors if that's occurring without due process or warrants or whatnot, and just stopping people. And I would say that's going to propagate the extremism on the opposite side, and walking and shutting down churches like this will propagate an extreme response for the opposite side, and that will just escalate everything.
So I wanted to give you some breaking news, if I can, Warren, since you are on. So William Kelly, known as Da Woke Farmer, has been arrested. However, a federal judge has refused to charge Don Lemon in connection to this situation. So what is your reaction to that?
What would he be charged with beyond trespassing?
Well, yeah, that's been my whole case all along. I've said,
right. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, if I'm being honest with you. People are talking, you've mentioned as well, this other charge. I don't know what that charge is. Going to the Constitution. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. So I can't comment on that. Trespassing, they might be. The church probably is going to take the high road because they're religious, and they're probably just be like, turn the other cheek. Maybe not. Maybe they can't charge. It doesn't surprise me that he's not going to get charged. It doesn't really. I get it.
Yeah. So that's the breaking news that just came out. And my understanding is this guy, William, I hate to say this, but he doesn't like it. Doesn't seem like he's doing Democrats any favors. He kind of sounds like a douchebag, for lack of a better term. I don't appreciate what he did. I don't think screaming in people's faces in a church and yelling at them, and I don't think that's very productive, and it's not very intelligent. By the way, we don't even know who these people were in this church. For all we know, some of the people in this church might be against what ICE is doing. Like, we don't know. So I don't think that's smart. I've been very consistent on that, and I try to call out anybody who attacks an ICE officer, anybody who resorts to violence. I don't condone that either. But also, if you're peacefully protesting and you're just out there chanting something on a public sidewalk, you shouldn't have tear gas thrown at you either. So I think it goes both ways.
I agree with you, man. I agree. Yeah. I think people do have the right to film.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Warren, before I let you go, anything else that you wanted to bring up that we have not?
It's let's do it again. I really enjoy these conversations.
Yeah, I do too, Warren. And listen, you have a huge following. You're very articulate, and And I do enjoy watching your videos. And these conversations, I think, are really important to have. It's funny. Last time you came on, Warren, there were like dozens of YouTube videos of people dissecting our debate. I don't know if this was a debate. It's more of a. This was maybe more of a discussion. But we got to be doing something right? If people are dissecting our conversations. Yeah, it's
a good dynamic, man. It's too difficult to find people that have your perspective to sit down. So I really, really appreciate your time.
Well, that means a lot. I appreciate that. I'm always willing to pretty much talk to anybody, especially somebody like you, who's willing to have these long form discussions. I think it's really important. Warren, I appreciate your time. I highly recommend anybody check out your YouTube page. It's pretty awesome. And that's why you have a large following. Warren, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
See you, Brian. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Warren. Thank you. All right. There you go. That's Warren Smith, everybody. Want to take some quick phone calls before our guest? I don't think our guests are here yet. Why don't we open up the phone lines? Why don't we do that? That was a very interesting conversation / debate. I know there's probably a lot of people that are chomping at the bits that want to call in. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Again, that number 702-221-7283. We just learned that apparently a federal judge is not going to be pressing charges against Don Lemon. I think that's certainly appropriate. But there are some people that have been arrested. There are some people that broke the law. There are some people that need to be held to account. But I tried to bring up right-wing hypocrisy, right? They're so upset about a church service being interrupted. I think it's far more serious if a child is crying in church because a church service is interrupted. I don't think that's as scarful, for lack of a better term, than a child sitting in the back of a car with tear gas and watching their parents get dragged out of a vehicle. I think that's a little bit more difficult for a child to accept than a church service being interrupted. That's my personal opinion. 702-221-SAVE. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Chuck. Chuck is first up on PTL. Hey, Chuck, what's up?
Hey, I got to tell you, this guy, Warren Smith, I never heard of him, but he's probably the most intelligent guy and calm and collected guy that you've had on your show ever.
I like having conversations with Warren. I don't always agree with him, but that's why I have him on. Listen, he's a really intelligent guy. He's got a large following, and I do enjoy the conversations I've had with him. I really do.
The funny thing is that while he sits there and tries to talk complete sense and doesn't call people morons and people's mothers morons, he makes an intelligent choice of communication, which is almost totally opposite of what this show is all about.
So, Chuck, your phone kind of cut out there, but I think you said it's the opposite of what this show is all about. Then why do you listen to it, Chuck?
I think it's funny because
you think it's funny. So I entertain you.
Yeah, I think it's funny because you sit there and just put people down.
All right, so let's have a respectful conversation.
I'm just saying.
And I'm just saying. So Chuck.
You would probably have a lot more followers if you wouldn't put people down.
Chuck. I appreciate your constructive criticism. Chuck, who did you vote for president?
Donald Trump.
Gotcha. That's a shocker. So Chuck, who won the 2020 election? Okay, so Chuck, we're having a respectful conversation. Please don't interrupt me. Chuck, who won the 2020 election?
Joe Biden.
Okay, was it a free and fair election, Chuck?
I guess it was.
You guessed it?
He was the president.
No, I didn't.
He's the president, so.
Yeah, you guessed.
So, just like Ronald Reagan won, like Jimmy Carter won.
Gotcha. So
everyone
Chuck
was the president, and I'm not going to argue about that.
Sure. Okay, no, we're not arguing. We're not arguing.
You're not going to lead me.
We're not arguing.
You're not going to lead me into you calling me names.
Chuck, stop playing victim. I haven't called you any names. I'm asking you questions. Chuck, if Donald Trump doesn't, Chuck, you're interrupting me. Chuck, you're interrupting me. That's very rude. We're trying to have a respectful conversation. Don't interrupt me, and I won't interrupt you. Chuck, if Donald Trump doesn't lie, if Donald Trump doesn't lie about the 2020 election and say that it was stolen, does January 6th happen? Yes or no?
January 6th, I don't even have enough information.
Okay, Chuck, you don't have to have a lot of information with respect to answer this question. You know what took place on January 6th. Please don't play stupid. You know what happened.
No, I do not know what happened on January 6th.
Hold on. So you're calling.
All the information
so Chuck, how many people were arrested on January 6th? Do you know about how many people were arrested and convicted, or you don't know that either about January 6th?
Like I said,
You
I'm
don't
not
know.
educated
Okay,
enough.
you're not
about
educated.
the
All right, we
ins and
agree.
outs about
We agree.
January 6th.
We agree. It sounds like you're not educated enough. So we agree. You put yourself down there,
Okay,
Chuck.
there you go.
No,
There
we
you
agree.
go.
So,
There
Chuck,
come the
you
insult.
voted for Donald. Here's why. Chuck, I didn't insult you. You said you weren't educated enough. I'm repeating what you just said.
Yeah.
So, Chuck, hold on. So you voted for a guy, a third time, I would assume, against Kamala Harris. We had an insurrection where a bunch of people stormed the Capitol. People were killed because Donald Trump didn't concede and do what every other president has done and concede an election. You voted for him, and you mean to tell me you expect me to take you seriously when you don't have any information on what took place on January 6th? What does that make
No,
you?
not the truth.
What does that make you, Chuck?
No, not the truth.
Okay,
You don't even know the truth.
Okay. No,
bro.
I don't know the truth. Pat him
are.
down. I know the truth, Chuck. You're playing stupid because you don't want to talk about January 6th because you're a coward. Here's the truth, buddy. Donald Trump is the only president in American history that didn't concede an election. If Donald Trump doesn't lie about the 2020 election, January 6th doesn't happen. But because you're a coward and, as you said, uneducated, you can't answer a basic question. So here's what I will say to you, Chuck. And by the way, I didn't hang up on you. If you don't want people calling you dumbass or right-wing buffoon or illiterate fools, if you don't want people calling you that, then don't say you don't know what happened on January 6th and you don't know all the information. The reason why I, quote, name call people like you is because that's who you are. And guess what? It's a free country, Chuck. You still listen to this show every day and you watch this show every day because you're entertained, so you claim. But I think at times I educate the uneducated. You are uneducated. You voted for a man who absolutely 100% is the reason why January 6th happened. Use Jack Smith testimony today as an example. But you are a buffoon. And guess what? I'm not going to use any of your criticism, Chuck, because you're an uneducated fool who listens to this show every day. You voted for Donald Trump, and you can't even say that January 6th doesn't happen if Donald Trump doesn't lie about the election. That makes you a coward, Chuck. What do you think about that?
What I think about it is I think you're a flea bag.
Oh, I'm a flea bag. Yeah, I'm a flea bag. Have a nice day, flea bag. Have a nice day, you MAGA mushroom gobbling, uneducated fool, you. Notice how Chuck wanted to be all righteous when he started this call. Brian, you shouldn't name call people. Okay, let's have a respectful conversation. Chuck, who did you vote for? Donald Trump. Okay, I knew that was coming. And then I say, Chuck, does January 6th happen if Donald Trump doesn't lie about the election? What does Chuck say? Oh, I'm really not educated enough on January 6th. Chuck knows exactly what happened on January 6th. He knows about those white supremacist terrorists that stormed the Capitol, that tried to overthrow a free and fair election. Chuck played stupid. See, that's why I get frustrated with people like Chuck, because they're not honest. They're either ill-informed or uneducated, or they're liars. Chuck knows what happened on January 6th, but because he's a coward, he doesn't want to answer a very, very basic question. So, Chuck, if you don't like me calling you a right-wing buffoon, take a hike, never call into this show again, never listen to this show again, because I have enough of a following that I don't need idiots like you. What do you think about that, pal? 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Herb. Herb is next. Hello, Herb.
Hey, Brian, let me ask you something. If Renee Good, the woman that was shot in the protest there, if she had been black, would you have blamed it on her being black while she was shot?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, you wouldn't? You wouldn't?
Do I stutter? Herb, do I stutter?
Black woman.
Herb, do I stutter? And I answered. Okay. And I answered.
Yeah.
Well,
you would have done that.
Okay, so you're answering. So Herb, you asked me a question. I answered your question, and I'll even go into detail if you would like, Herb. I'll even go into detail if you would like.
Go ahead.
You see, the circumstances of a shooting, the circumstances of George Floyd, the circumstances in any situation that I look at. Example, George Floyd, knee on his neck for 9 minutes. The cause of death was homicide based on two autopsies. What happened to Renee Good was horrible. It had nothing to do with the color of her skin, and it had everything to do, in my personal opinion, of the officer's actions. But I've called for an independent investigation. So now that I've answered your question, I would like you to answer mine. Do you think Don Lemon deserves to go to jail?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, and what's the crime? What crime did he commit?
Well, he committed the crime about the fact that you can't go into a religious ceremony and it disrupted.
Okay, so how did he disrupt it? What did he do?
He went in with the group. See, when you gave the example,
Herb,
listen, let me tell you. I'm going to tell you, listen.
Please.
He went in with the group and pulled out his phone and interviewed interviewed the pastor of the church.
So interviewing, okay, so a federal judge disagrees with you, but that's okay. We could have this conversation. So if you, what the FACE Act actually says, and I'm not sure if you read what the FACE Act says, you have to openly be protesting while disrupting. Don Lemon was not protesting. He wasn't physically intimidating anybody. Taking out a cell phone and interviewing somebody is not against the law on private property, whether it's a church, synagogue, or whatever. As I've said consistently, you are wrong. By the way, even if he did break the FACE Act, this is a guy who's never been in trouble with the law before. He's never been convicted of a crime. So even if he did, he wouldn't face any jail time. You're obviously ignorant to that. If he did anything wrong, it would be trespassing, which also wouldn't be any jail time from a guy that doesn't have a criminal record. So I asked you, do you believe he belongs in jail? And you said yes, and you couldn't even articulate why. By the way, he didn't break the FACE Act, and a federal judge just decided that he disagrees with you. But I'm sure you'll call him a left-wing zealot as well, even though the same federal judge has already arrested others in regards to that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. He's your buddy, so he's not going to jail. So I'm sure you're glad about that.
I'm glad, sir, when justice is served, and I'm glad, sir, when the laws are followed properly. You unfortunately support a man who's a 34-count felon, liable sexual abuser, but I'm sure he's your buddy, so I'm sure you don't care about the fact that he went into teenage girls' locker rooms without their permission. I'm sure you don't care that he was best friend, so you laugh about it. You think it's funny. You know what, Herb? I just destroyed you, Herb. Have a nice day. You think Don Lemon should go to jail, but you think the orange turd who you voted for is free and he's done absolutely nothing wrong. Herb, you're a bozo, and I just destroyed you. You don't even know what the FACE Act is. You think Don Lemon should be in jail. Hey, Herb, I think you should be in jail for being a dumbass. What do you think about that? I think you should be in jail. What do you think about that, Herb? All right, I got to take a break. I got to take a breath. I got to take a break. We're going to have some fun next. We might take some more phone calls on the other side. My buddy Herb calling in. You know, I always have to have fun with Herb. We got to take a quick break, and hopefully Chuck is still listening. Chucky, if you're still listening, we have this just for you, Chucky. Coming up next, we have two OnlyFans models that are friends of mine that are coming in studio. There have been a lot of attacks on OnlyFans models, people in the adult entertainment industry. There are people on the right that want to abolish pornography altogether. Well, guess what? Coming up next in studio, two people that I am very happy to call friends of mine. Nicole Mitchell and Courtney Tillia will be joining us next. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Las Vegas Broadcasting, LLC, KSHP Radio, AM 1400, and FM 107.1. is accepting resumes for the position of advertising account executive and on-air talent. The ideal applicant is a career-minded, self-motivated person who is a strong closer with a proven track record in sales. Basic computer skills are required. The ideal applicant will have a positive mental attitude, strong people skills, and the ability to communicate effectively, along with a professional appearance and an eagerness to succeed. KSHP Radio offers medical and dental coverage, 401k, paid vacations, bonus opportunities, and more. When submitting your interest, please include an updated resume and current photo. Salary and commission are negotiable. Please contact us at mark.hayes@kshp.com. Las Vegas Broadcasting, LLC takes pride in being an equal opportunity employer. The Radio Shopping Show, a unique and fun way to enjoy incredible savings on the products and services you buy every day. We pioneered the Radio Shopping Show in 1981, and since then, tens of thousands of people have saved literally millions of dollars. Visit kshp.com and learn how to save 40, 50, 60, 70%, or even more on the products and services you buy every day. Visit kshp.com and live large for less.
All right, welcome back. Pushing the limits on a Thursday. It's all, the Trump supporters, when they call into this show, it always gets my blood boiling. But then when I have, beautiful ladies in the studio, it gets my blood boiling as well. A good reason, not a bad reason. Anyway, welcome back to the show. So obviously we've talked about a lot of serious topics here the first hour and a half of the show. I just had a long conversation with Warren Smith, really smart guy. I always appreciate him coming on and a good talk, a good conversation with him. And then we had back-to-back MAGA callers called in. It's always fun. It's always fun when they call in and they criticize me. Your show would be more popular if you did this, yet they listen every day and they call in. It's hilarious. Anyway, let's move on now. So there's a lot of attacks from the right when it comes to OnlyFans models, when it comes to adult film stars. I really never have understood it, other than the fact that these are probably the biggest fans of them all, and they're all a bunch of liars. But the two lovely ladies joining me in studio now, if you've listened to this show, you know that Nicole Mitchell joins me on this show pretty much every single week. She is a former pastor turned life coach and OnlyFans model. And I've talked about Courtney Tilia as well, who is a former teacher, now OnlyFans model. They're in town for the AVNs, which we are going to right after the show. It's a very difficult job, but somebody has to do it. Ladies, it is great to see you both, Nicole and Courtney. How are you guys doing?
You're so good.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah, you guys are looking great as always.
Thank
You know, it's funny. They're in the lobby area, and they hear me screaming at callers, and they're like, "Well, we'll get your blood boiling a different way." So,
yes.
Amen. That's what we're here to do.
Awesome. Do you guys agree with me? Like, I had a debate with a guy by the name of Myron Gaines. He's just a despicable human being, and all he does is downgrade women. He calls them second-class citizens. And for some reason, he's like afraid of OnlyFans models, and he trashes only.
Good.
Like, what do you say to these people that attack OnlyFans models and hate the fact that you both are making a lot of money and not breaking any laws, by the way?
Correct.
What do you say to those people?
I think that's what they're jealous of. I think they're jealous that women are monetizing off their sexuality because these men want to sexualize us for free. So this guy, he already sexualizes women. Like, this is what makes him so mad that we dare take that power and turn it into money. And he has a problem with that, is one of my opinions about people like that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is interesting, my husband actually did a video about this, about the male loneliness epidemic, which is a very conservative thing, because if you love women, respect women, appreciate women, then that is actually not an issue. You don't have a male loneliness epidemic.
That is so interesting.
So
You brought that up, because I don't know if you've heard of this guy. His name is Nick Fuentes.
Yes.
He's like an anti-Semite, Holocaust denier, whole nine yards. He's 27 years old, claims that he's a virgin, which, by the way, I do believe. Claims he's straight. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with being gay.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of these men in their 20s and 30s and 40s and so on that are conservative, they're actually closet homosexuals. They're self-hating, which is really sad, by the way. And then they attack women. And I'm like, first of all, I don't think you're attracted to women, number one, and that shouldn't matter. And number two, I think you're afraid to come out as being gay.
Well, they've made it so wrong. So why would you come out as gay? Because they've made it a very terrible and scary thing. And if you think about the history of human beings, being rejected by your own species, specifically men, is a very scary thing. And so like coming out as gay is terrifying. And his whole world, Nick's, is his Trump community.
Right.
And he already came out, I forgot what he disowned Trump at one point and lost his whole world. And then was like, oh, wait, I changed my mind.
You're so right.
And so I think if he was to come out and be like, actually, I'm gay or I'm bi or whatever his story may be, he's going to be disowned at an even greater level. And that's probably even something that he doesn't even own for himself. So if you don't own it for yourself and like own that certainty, then coming out to a community is even more scary.
That's so true. Nicole, what would you say to somebody like Nick Fuentes?
It's so interesting. Like people who hate so much are so mad that they're alone, are so mad they're so isolated, are so mad. Like to Courtney's point, it's like, I know men in my own life, the men who are a little bit creepy and grimy and sleazy, I stay away from. Men who respect me and are kind to me.
Why are you here then? I'm sorry.
I want to be hanging out with them. I want to be all over them. Like it's so simple. Like you determine your reality. And if you're going to be a hater and mean and sleazy, of course you're going to be alone and make everyone else the problem. But a mature human, a mature man takes responsibility for his actions and his behavior, and you'll attract amazing people in your life as a result. And if you don't know how to do that, it's so much easier to blame everyone else but yourself.
By the way, I want to add something real quick before I continue here with Courtney. Courtney is going to be at Sapphire tonight at 10 p.m.
Yes.
So if you'd like to meet Courtney, she will be there at 10 p.m. tonight. Partying.
I will be there too. We're going to bring all the hot babes.
Oh,
can I say that you're coming?
Yeah, of course.
Brian's coming. We're going to have a whole crew going. So
just not Nick Fuentes. He's not invited.
He's not invited.
No, he's not invited.
Unfortunately.
Go ahead,
No, I forgot. Oh, what I was going to say is it's not even being a virgin that's an issue. I actually have I have a group of like virgin subscribers in my community. And one in particular paid to do a girlfriend experience with me for a little while. And it gave him the skills and the confidence to be a man and to show up and how to treat women. And he then like one weekend dumped me because he got a girlfriend and he lost his virginity and he knew how to pleasure her.
Wow.
All because of that experience. So like we do so much for the world.
I didn't know you dated Matt Gaetz. I'm sorry, that was a terrible joke. Okay, so there's one group of people like the Nick Fuenteses of the world, and I would put Myron Gaines in there too, that maybe allegedly are closet homosexuals, and I feel bad for them because they're self-hating people who happen to be gay themselves. But then you have the other group of people which hate on you guys. They attack you for being OnlyFans models. Again, the same idea, second-class citizens, women, and porn, bad. But yet I hear stories that these are some of your biggest clients.
They always are. They always are. And can we talk about the one running for office in Florida and how he was removed for dating a 17-year-old from the school district? Like it's always the same stories over and over of these people who are closeted hypocrites doing insane things. And our biggest customers. So it's
I wish you guys could give out some names of some of your customers that are like right wing and just expose them, not literally. But
I get tempted sometimes. I have a guy on Twitter, same thing. He's like anti-porn, God first, family first, and he immediately DMs me asking for my content. And I'm just like, it makes me so.
I make the MAGA people pay for my pedicures. Like you owe me for putting up with this.
I'm just surprised that Elon Musk didn't offer you a lot of money to have a child with you, and then
we all have a line somewhere. And that's just not it. That's not happening.
Be honest. If Elon Musk, I know you're married and you have a great husband and all that. No disrespect to him, but if Elon Musk offered you like $10 million to have a child with him, would you do it?
No, I would not.
Okay, thank God.
No.
Good answer, Nicole.
I'm like, well, define have. Get pregnant?
You'd have to hire a non-disclosure.
And then abort?
Well, what he does...
I'd probably do it.
Apparently... Allegedly,
no, you have to birth. You have to like.
So you have to have a child
for 18 years.
No, I can't do that.
Ashley St. Clair and others, I'm sure, allegedly he has, signed them into these non-disclosures where he'll have a child with them. He'll pay the child support and he'll pay them a certain amount of money to not make it public, right? Now, some of these have already gone public, St. Clair being one of them, but I just find it so weird and so despicable that you're not even a father in their life. You're treating the woman as an object.
Yeah,
you're not in
it's
her
breeding.
life. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I know. He's not a good dad to any of the kids. Like, that's so important to me. So absolutely, I don't care about like the money. No.
All right. Well,
okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, let's say, and these are the same people who are like family, and like there's no family values. There's no. It's all talk and no action. And like we were just talking outside the studio, how do people not see that? How do they not see their empty words? How do they not see that they do
family values, the nuclear family?
Yes.
You hear that from these people on the right all the time, and they support Donald Trump. I don't understand that.
Yes, exactly.
I don't get that. I don't know. I just don't understand that. Nicole Mitchell and Courtney Tillett joining me in studio. They're in town for the AVNs, and we're talking about the hypocrisy from the right, which is daunting on social media. No matter where you look, these are the people that are probably more into. I don't really understand this. Like, yes, prostitution is legal about 45 minutes to an hour from here in a little town called Pahrump. But for the most part, throughout the country, prostitution is illegal. And this is a big problem to me for a lot of different reasons. Number one, disease, because you have illegal prostitution going on, right?
Yes.
It's dangerous for the woman. It's dangerous for the client. As I mentioned, diseases, and it's been robberies both ways, right? And yet, again, most Democrats that I talk to say, listen, just like marijuana, for example, it's going to be legal, but let's just do it in certain districts, right? You wouldn't want a chicken ranch, for lack of a better term, near a school, right? You wouldn't want, selling marijuana near a school. Yeah, there has to be certain regulations.
Sure.
But why do you think that, for the most part, people on the left think that we should legalize it? Another way for the government to make money too, by the way, and it'd be safer. But so many people on the right think bad, can't legalize prostitution. Why do you think that is, and what do you say to that, both of you?
You go first.
Well, so interesting is in Europe there's a street where there's a red light district, and down at the end of the block,
Amsterdam.
Yes, down the block, the same block is a preschool. And
interesting.
My partner was touring there, and the tour guide was showing that, like, you could tell the tour guide was a little more conservative. Like, I can't believe they'd be so close. And, how would your partner feel about it? And my partner's like, oh, Nicole would probably love it because I could just drop the kids off at school on my way to work. Like, so there's something like, I think things are less taboo and terrifying when you actually know the women, the work, you understand that it is work. You understand there are boundaries and there are guidelines, there are things put in place, like make this a legit job. And America just makes it so much harder by being so prude and shame-based. And I think we have a lot to learn from other countries where it is decriminalized, and I think we should decriminalize it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we probably won't for a long time.
Yes, I agree with that.
We're heading in the wrong direction.
We are.
But the same way as abortion was something that was legal, that it was done by a doctor in safe ways. Making it illegal doesn't make it so it's not happening. It's making it very unsafe. And the same thing is going with sex work. You're just, and I think I don't know if I can say this. So the platform that we use has made it to where it's safe. We can do it on our terms. We do it at our prices. We do it in a way
Nobody's
that's safe.
forcing you to do anything.
No.
Right.
And so like it has progressed in that way. So like legalizing it allows it to become safe. You have testing, you have more consent, you have like things that are done right.
Yeah, and you're safe. And it's funny because somebody on social media, I actually think it's a funny comment. Somebody on social media said it's interesting that Brian knows exactly where prostitution is legal. So I do have by the way, it's 45 minutes from here. It's the same place where Lamar Odom had like a heart attack and almost died. So it's public knowledge everywhere. But I did go once, and I'm going to tell you why. And it's a very funny and creepy story. So this was about 15 years ago, and it's the only time I went. A guy at the time, I was at the same radio station he was at, and one of his sponsors was a bunny ranch in Pahrump. And he's like, and he's a really like, I'm not going to say his name, but he's a creepy guy. I haven't talked to him in like 10 years. And he kind of talks like this, very creepy guy. But he says to me, hey, Brian, Numchuck, do you even know who I'm talking about? You don't. Okay. That's a good thing. Hey, Brian, I'm going to go to the bunny ranch in my remote. Would you like to go with me? You don't have to do anything. You could just grab a drink at the bar. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
How old was I? I was like 30 years old. I'm like, you know what? I'd check this out. Just grab a drink and just check it out. Right. Because I've seen the show on HBO and I was curious. So I show up, we park in front of this bunny ranch in Pahrump, and he's, Brian, will you help me take out all these candles? And he had all these little candles. And I'm like, what are these candles for? He's like, I'm going to give one to all the girls. Now that was really creepy. Okay. That was weird to me. But anyway, we walk in there and he's giving out these candles to all these girls. And I sit at the bar and I see that there's a menu, not a food menu, a, for lack of a better term, sexual menu.
Yes.
Okay. But I sit at the bar.
Service menu.
Now I'll be honest. I sat there and I was just having conversations. I didn't make any purchases, but I was having conversations with. They were very nice there. It was very clean. Okay, there was like a pool table there. The drinks were like $1.
Wow.
And I was just asking them questions like I'm asking you questions. Only probably a little bit more graphic about their job because I find it interesting.
Yeah.
But I met the boss. She was very nice. Very nice. The bartender was cool. Everyone was cool. Nobody was like pressuring you. Hey, you want to do this? Do you want to do that? No, I was just sitting at the bar and he did his radio show there, which was interesting. I had a good time. It was fun. And it was like, just like a normal bar. Yeah, of course they have bedrooms in the back and the owner gave me a tour but everything was clean. I didn't walk in there saying, ooh, this is scummy. This is dirty. Who could pay for this? It's like everyone has different reasons, right? Some people might come from a very strict family. A kid might be a college kid and he's never been with a woman before.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants that experience so that when he does get that opportunity, he knows what he's doing. Like what you said, maybe there's people that have a lot of money that don't want to, I don't know. I'm not speaking for them, but maybe they just don't want to date. They don't want to be married and they just want it without nothing. And listen, sometimes people do it for the wrong reasons. I'm not going to lie, but maybe you're man or woman, you're unhappy in a marriage. You don't want there to be any red tape or phone numbers or anything. You just want to go there, get it done, and leave. I'm not defending that behavior, but it's better that they do that than do it with someone and turns into a relationship. That's worse, I think, right?
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is it was clean.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this isn't what I thought it would be. I expected it to be dirty and
real
workplace. No, it was normal. I mean, the guy I went with was kind of a creep, but that's another story. But like, yeah, they had a swimming pool in back and everybody's walking around and I don't see what the big deal is. And everybody and people are, oh, Brian, you're just a porn lover. Oh, Brian, you're pro prostitute. I just want people to live their lives and do what they want to do. And I don't want people to tell other people what to do. Does that make me a bad guy?
Especially as adults, it's consensual and it's clean. Like I love the transaction part because it's so clean. You know exactly what you're getting. You know exactly what you're offering. And like, there's no questions. There's no, it's so black and white. I honestly think too, part of why it's going to take America forever before they decriminalize and support sex workers is that they love seeing women suffer. They love seeing women suffer. And so they will do everything in their power to make sure they keep abortions illegal, to keep sex work illegal, to keep women marginalized because women are oppressed. They have less rights, less access to resources, and that lowers their standard of life. Like that's what they want. They want women to suffer. And so we will always be a proponent of women rising up and speaking up and advocating and getting rich and like doing whatever you got to do to live your best life because we have a system set up for women to suffer, not thrive.
That's such a good point that you made and so sad in the same light, right? That there are people out there that want others to suffer. Example, the abortion issue, which drives me to insanity, by the way, that there are middle-aged, crusty Republican men that want to tell people like you what to do.
They don't understand it. You ask them any questions about it at all, and they have no clue how a woman's body works or a cycle or pregnancy.
Middle-aged, crusty Republican man. That's my argument. Like, I don't know what it's like to be pregnant, right? And like, listen, if people are against abortion, I don't want to get involved with their personal life. Have 100 kids if you want to. Like, I'm not telling you what to do. Right. Why do you want to get involved in other people's lives? And listen, they think it's murder. So how would you articulate to a right-wing MAGA dude or woman who calls you a murderer if in fact you have an abortion? Like, what would you say to them?
One, I don't know that you can argue with these people because they're not willing to hear anything outside of their bubble. Like, it's like, I'm like, I don't know how you even get through to these people. But the crazy thing is that one, it is healthcare because they need that. And her and I were talking about it in the lobby. I actually know somebody personally who did pass away because she needed that medical support. And they are refusing to believe that women are actually still dying from childbirth or birth complications, and refusing to see the full picture of what it is versus like, it's not murder.
And if you actually care about the murder of children, then do something about our school shootings. Stop focusing on pregnant women and start
foster
dealing.
care.
Yes,
Like,
we have
there's
so much
things that need
where
help.
where children are suffering and dying, and we don't do anything.
You
We're
know
like
why,
thoughts and
Nicole?
prayers.
Because they don't care about a human being once
No.
it's outside
Yes,
the womb.
yes.
Right.
And I have these
Again, that's control of women. It's
Yes.
not an actual care of a
Yeah.
child. That's
No.
controlling our body.
And you know what should be a front headline story today, because you reminded me of something. Of course, you guys sadly probably remember the Uvalde, Texas school shooting where a bunch of innocent children lost their lives. Well, there were plenty of coward cops that day, but there was one coward cop that was the first officer that was there. He was a school officer that was there who waited and waited and waited. He didn't go into the classroom. And I think, that there should be charges filed. There was. And then he was found not guilty yesterday. And it's like, for lack of a better term, what like a slap in the face to the families who lost loved ones, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But Republicans don't want to talk about
Yep.
that
Men are
stuff.
always let off the hook.
Thoughts and
look at
prayers,
who is
right?
our president? It's
Thoughts
just
and
like,
prayers.
How many
women
abortions
suffer.
do you think Donald Trump had, by the way?
How many he's paid for and funded?
Yeah.
Right?
A lot.
Not that we
More than
wanted
we'll
to,
ever know.
not that we wanted to see more Don Juniors and Eric Juniors in the world, because we didn't. But
But
I
they
mean,
try to shut down the very service that they fund and utilize. Like,
yeah,
it's
I
insanity.
find that. Listen, I know people with a lot of money, and I'm not going to say every man with a lot of money treats women like crap, because that's not true.
That's not
True.
true.
I've seen.
We've
very-
got great sugar
Right.
daddies.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
Not everybody with money treats women bad, but I do see a lot of this on the right, like the Elon Musks of the world and others, rich people on the right that treat women like objects. And listen, you could have someone making minimum wage, a man that treats women like an object. There's a way to appreciate a woman, respect a woman, and enjoy a woman without disrespecting.
1,000%.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
totally. It's not relegated to any certain class. Like, it's a human skill to be able to respect another person. And if you don't respect another person, that is on you.
All right. So the $1 billion question here then.
Give it to us.
Explain to me why this is. Why so many people on the left, and a lot of independents too, support you guys. They support what you do publicly and privately. They don't think what you're doing is wrong. Somebody like me who thinks if you're not breaking the law, show off what you got. I wish somebody would pay me a lot of money to take my clothes off, quite frankly. That's not happening. I use my mouth to talk. They don't pay me for other things. But like, why is it so many people on the left seem to be very supportive of what you guys do? And I remember going to the AVN Expo with you last year, and I had a lot of people that recognized me, that listen to my show. But yet, why is it so many people on the right, what they do in private, I don't know, but why do they attack you guys? Like, why is that? Why is it a political thing? Like, I've never met a liberal that hates what you guys do. Never. Why? I don't understand. I really don't. I don't know why.
I really do think they hate women. And
Really?
A lot. And they hate women in power. They hate women who make money. They hate women that take care of themselves. They hate us having power and control. They hate all of that. So they suppress it.
Isn't that so sad?
It's so sad.
And do you think that's something that they got growing up, something they saw their father do, something that was instilled in their brain? Like, how do you?
I think so. I was raised, conservative and Republican, and any marginalized group, my community did a really good job at making sure to villainize all of them. So I grew up thinking horrible things about all kinds of groups of people without ever meeting one and talking to them.
Totally.
Once you meet and talk to a sex worker, once you meet and talk to a gay person, once you meet and talk to a trans person, you see their humanity. And I was in 9th grade, I met my first group of gay and trans people. And I remember thinking, they are more loving than all of the Christians I spend my time with.
1,000%.
Like,
so are the porn stars.
Yes. I think you fear what you don't know. And so my challenge to people who hate on and villainize and are afraid of people like us, come meet us, talk to us, find out, we have loving partners, we have children, we go to our kids' school theater performance. We are very normal, but we just also are savvy businesswomen.
That's another thing that pisses me off, is that you see what both of you do for work. And then you see so many people making judgments about, oh, you're a terrible mom. You must be. And by the way, I've seen you, Nicole, with your family, and you're great. But yet they assume just because you're an OnlyFans model, for example, that you must be a terrible family person and a terrible mother. How ignorant is that when people make those assumptions, I would imagine, about both of you?
I think it makes us a better mom.
100%.
We have conversations I think most parents are afraid to have because of the work we do. We got uncomfortable. We have to talk about boundaries and consent, and what's for adults is for adults, what's for kids is for kids. And I would have never had probably these conversations had I never gotten into this work, because I was shy and bashful and had to learn to like own this. And I know so many families who judge people like us, but then don't have any of these conversations with their kids, and they are ill-equipped for the real world and for relationships. And
that's they
to the
get into
detriment.
situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that's it's really sad. And I think when you're depraved as a child, or when you have parents that are extremely strict, that don't even allow you to even go on a date with somebody, then by the time you're in college or you're living your own life, then you want to experience that stuff and you go a little crazy, which is okay.
Yes.
But like I think that's just so wrong. Yeah, there are certain boundaries that you don't want to cross when you're a kid, and parents need to do a good job of that. But go on dates and enjoy life a little bit, right? And I just don't understand. And it usually is coming from, correct me if I'm wrong, the evangelical right.
Oh, totally.
Yes.
Right.
And like we're so afraid, the evangelical right is so afraid of pleasure. Like they don't know what to do with pleasure. They're so used to rules and sin and morality and black and white. Like when there's pleasure and surrender, everything's gray.
To them, pleasure is putting on a MAGA hat. That's their buying the MAGA sneakers. That's their pleasure. So before we go, because we only have this segment went by really fast, only a few more minutes here. But Courtney, tell me a little bit more about your appearance tonight, where people can come out and say hello, get a picture.
I know. I will be at Sapphire, which is my favorite club.
It is a really awesome
It's amazing.
Club.
I always have the best time. So many hot people. But we will be there at 10. We have free happy hour where you'll have drinks. We can do photos. We can hang out. We can do all the things.
I'm looking forward to that. That sounds like it's a tough job, but somebody has to do it.
I know.
It's a good escape from having to talk about the things I talk about on the show.
Yeah, politics all day.
ICE agents murdering people on the streets. Like taking over other countries. I'm just like every single day it's something new with the Orange Man, and it's like it's nice to be able to.
You just saying that exactly is like I like being the escape. I like being a gentleman's getaway. Like exactly, you said, there's so much suffering in the world. There's so much drama. It's nonstop that you do need a release. And I love Courtney's providing that at Sapphire. We provide this through our work. And like, we are a very real release. I think actually helps people stay stable. In ways they wouldn't have otherwise.
Maybe
we
should invite Melania Trump. I think she's in hell.
I'm happy to help. I'll take one for the team. I'll
her charity project. Yes.
Yeah. Or maybe was it Stormy Daniels? Can you imagine the hell she went through for 13 seconds?
I actually know somebody who's friends with her, and it's been horrible what that side has done to her.
People think it's only the 13 seconds of fun he had with her, but it's a little bit more than that.
She has suffered for
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that
That's
at
what
all.
Our country wants.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. All right, Courtney, Nicole, always a pleasure having you guys here. We're gonna go hang out and have some fun tonight. I can't wait. And for those of you that are wondering, unfortunately, I won't have any OnlyFans models in studio tomorrow. I know Numchuck is going to be very disappointed. But instead, we will be reviewing and going through the entire testimony of Jack Smith. And we will be taking more calls tomorrow. I know there's a lot of people that might be a little upset at me for not taking more calls. We'll take some more phone calls tomorrow. I promise you that. Check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, pushingthelimits.live, where you can make donations and support independent media.
Yeah.
Also, my thanks to Warren Smith, who we had like an hour and 15-minute debate. That went a little longer than I thought, but it was really good. I really enjoyed that conversation. So thank you to Warren for doing that as well. We will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. Ladies, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. See you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Remy Road, half a mile east of South Point.